Although the dramatic shock in this week's Dark Wind Season 4 episode should have significant ramifications for Chee, Kiowa Gordon, viewers who are not Navajo might not be aware of what a death hogan is. Surprisingly, this week Leaphorn, Chee, and Manuelito were able to complete their search for Billy Tsosie. Although she was apprehended while pilfering supplies to treat Albert Gorman's gunshot wounds, the case remains unsolved. Even though the primary cast of Dark Winds has located Billy, they will no longer be able to question the recently deceased Albert why Irene was pursuing her and Albert. Ghost illness is another new issue that Chee is explicitly dealing with, and it connects the show to Tony Hillerman's writings. This week, Dark Winds was in for a few surprises, all of which deserve an explanation. In Dark Wind Season 4, Episode 2, Chee explained what a death hogan is and why he became involved. Bernadette, Leaphorn, and Chee discovered Albert Gorman dead at Ashie Begay's house at the conclusion of Dark Wind Season 4, Episode 2. But Leaphorn and Bernadette identified the house right away as a death hogan's and cautioned Chee against going inside, because they think that a person releases their Chindi, or the negative aspects of their spirit. Coming into contact with a dead body can bring ghost sickness. Navajo people typically attempt to avoid coming into contact with dead bodies. When a Navajo individual comes into contact with someone's Chindi, either by touching a corpse or by going into a death hogan, they get ghost sickness. Additionally, Navajo people think that when a person passes away indoors, their Chindi becomes trapped in the structure, transforming it into a death hogan, in order to allow the Chindi to escape and to warn other Navajo people not to enter. A breach is then created in the building's north wall. Leaphorn and Manuelito were able to identify the death hogan right away because to the hole. When Bernadette cautioned Chee against going inside, he seemed to be aware of the stigma associated with death hogans, but he persisted. Chee then developed a nosebleed and began to have visions, as we observed. Ghost sickness has been plaguing Chee. She probably didn't take Bernadette's warning seriously and entered the death hogan since he's always been skeptical of things like ghost disease and medicine. The reason Joe is not wanting Chee to know he's retiring. Joe informed Bernadette that he intended to retire and asked her to succeed him as lieutenant in Dark Wind Season 4, Episode 1. Only Bernadette is aware of Joe's plan, as this week's episode disclosed, and she asked him whether she may share it with Chee. But Joe refused, and the only explanation he offered was that he asked Bernadette to essentially lie on his behalf since he didn't want everyone in the office to know just yet. Since Bernadette was already aware of Billy Tsosie's disappearance before going back to the police station, she has already shown that he has loose lips this season. Joe probably thinks that she won't be able to keep the secret from the other police if he tells him about his choice. After they find out, Joe will be inundated with inquiries and best wishes, and for the next 2 weeks, he simply wants to carry on with his work as usual. Joe may have made sense in keeping Chee in the dark, but that doesn't mean it was the right choice. Chee will soon learn that Bernadette will be taking Joe's place after he retires, and he will probably be angry that they didn't tell him. Given that they recently rekindled their romance, and that Bernadette was promoted before him, he will probably be even more upset with her. Given his ambition, Chee probably won't be pleased that Bernadette received the promotion rather than him. Why Irene didn't shoot Joe in Episode 2 of Dark Wind Season 4. Joe and Chee followed a trail of fluid left behind when Gorman shot at Irene's van at the start of Dark Wind Season 4, Episode 2. The contract assassin had Joe within range of her gun when they were at the auto shop, where Irene picked up supplies to fix her van. Irene might have easily killed him, but she chose not to take the shot, and as Joe and Chee walked away, she smiled enigmatically. Why Irene didn't shoot Joe isn't totally obvious. It's clear that she has no qualms about murdering onlookers, including Joe, a police officer. Additionally, his passing would have put him off her radar and eased her search for Gorman. She didn't take the shot, though, for a few reasons. The most significant is that, for some reason, Joe seems to captivate Irene, and she appears to be relishing the excitement of him pursuing her. Irene probably grinned when she saw Joe because of this. Joe followed a radiator leak to get quite near to her, despite the fact that she is obviously a professional who hides her tracks. She finds him challenging, and it's likely that she admires Joe in a perverse way. Mutual respect is the reason she didn't murder Joe, just as he didn't kill the deer in the Dark Wind Season 4 opener. Irene's seeming obsession with Joe may pose a serious threat in the future. Despite being a professional, Irene is obviously mentally unstable. She could actually hurt Joe if she can persuade herself that she and Joe are playing a game of cat and mouse. But even if she doesn't, it's obvious that Irene will cause issues for Dark Wind Season 4.